Hello everybody, and welcome to our second class on Kriya Tantra, second class of our new course, just explaining a little bit, a good introduction to Tibetan Buddhist Kriya Tantra, or Action Tantra, and in particular Action Tantra as it is presented in the Gelugpa tradition. Okay, so let's start with our recitation, Heart Sutra for Blessings, Wisdom Realizing Emptiness. Homage to the perfection of wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus I have heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Vajrayana and mass altars mount together great assembly of monks and nuns and great assembly of bodhisattvas. That time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That time also Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly also at the five aggregates, being empty of inherent existence. Then, through the power of Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly also the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, and form is also not other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, this all phenomena are empty as having no characteristics, do not produce and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There is no eye element, and so forth, up to no mentality element, and also up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, so forth, and up to no aging and death, no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing utterly unperversely, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas reside perfectly in the three times, ever relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal of the unequal mantra, the mantra thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since its not false should be known as the truth. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed, Tayatam Gata Gata Pariyata Parsam Gati Bodhisattva. Shariputra, bodhisattva, a great being should train the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose in that concentration and said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, that he had spoken well. Good, O son of the lineage, is like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra, Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Okay, so we'll just take a moment to do just a short meditation on Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa, Ganden Lagima, just again to bless our practice here and our discussion. So we're seated in a wide open space here, ground like lapis lazuli, beautiful cloudless blue sky above us. And we're surrounded by all sentient beings of six realms of cyclic existence, starting with our mother on our left, our father on the right. People we love the most behind us as support, and people we have issues with, or karmic debts with, or so forth, in front of us as objects of our compassion. You can think of people from all over the world here, especially places where there's great suffering like war and genocide and injustice and exploitation and disease and famine and so forth. So people all throughout the world without exception, the whole natural world here of the animal realm, from small little insects all the way to birds and fish and mammals. Think of all beings from the spirit world here as well. Celestial beings of the gods and demigods, or goddesses, demigoddesses, from these the different sort of gradations of those realms as well, like the desire realm, formless realm. And countless beings in lower states of rebirth, hungry ghosts and hell beings. of us here together, meditating together. Now, the beautiful sky above us is a scene of Ganden or Tashita Pure Land. Beautiful, beautiful Pure Land, beautiful heaven. In the center of it is the future Buddha, love and kindness, fifth universal Buddha, Buddha Maitreya, holding two white lotuses with a golden 8-spoke Dharma wheel on one and golden initiation vase on the other. He's seated in a chair. Beautiful golden body and silks in a crown. And now at his heart, just all in beautiful clouds, is founder of our tradition, Jenang Drapa, seated in lotus position, 3 robes of a monk, yellow pandit's cap, holding with the eternal wheel of Dharma Mudra, 2 white lotuses, one with the Prajnaparamita text on perfection of wisdom, and the other a flaming sword. And then in front of him, his 2 main disciples. So on our left or his right, Japagyaso, and our right, his left, Kidrupje. His monks wearing 3 robes and a yellow pendant's hat. And they've got the teaching mudra with their right hand, left hands holding a Dharma text. So we recite for refuge. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Generating the awakened mind here through the virtues I collect by giving other perfections may become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving other perfections may become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by other perfections may become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Now from the heart of the protected hundreds of days of joyful land to the peak of a cloud is like a cluster of fresh white curd. All know and Lo Sendrapa, King of the Dharma, please come to this place together with your sons. The space before me in a line from lotus and moon, venerable Guru smile of delight. O supreme field of merit from my mind of faith, please remain for 100 years to spread the doctrine. Your mind of wisdom realizes the full extent of objects of knowledge. Your eloquent speech is the ear organ of the fortunate. Your beautiful body is a blaze of the glory of renown. I prostrate to you, whom to see, to hear, and remember so meaningful. Pleasing water offerings, various flowers, sweet-smelling incense, light, scented water, and so forth. A vast cloud of offerings, both set out and imagined, for you, supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtues of body, speech, and mind have accumulated to them without beginning, especially transgressions of my 3 vows, with great remorse I confess each one from the depths of my heart. This degenerate age is so for much learning and accomplishment, ban the 8 worldly concerns and make your leisure and endowment meaningful. O protector from the very depths of my heart, rejoice in the great wave of your deeds. Within clouds of wisdom and compassion, the space of your truth body, O venerable and holy gurus, please send down a rain of vast and profound dharma, appropriate to the disciples of this world. The virtues I've accumulated here, may the doctrine all living beings receive every benefit, especially when the essence of the doctrine of venerable Lo Sendrapa shine forever. I'm making a mandal offering here, holding a purified universe at your heart, as an offering to the refuge field here. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land and offer thus may all beings enjoy such pure lands. Om Idam Guru Radna Mandala Kamirti Yami. We send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious gurus. Now, like beautiful golden sunlight from the heart of Maitreya and Jenang and his 2 students, golden light is coming down, blessing us, purifying us, raising our vibration and spiritual power, opening our heart, us and all sentient beings, as we recite Miksema mantra. Mig me se we ter chen chen rei zi. Dri me kien pe wang po jam pao yang. Du pun ma lu jom se he sang wei dan. Gan chen ke pe sun kien song ka bao. Lo Sandra Pe Shabla So Wade. Make me say way to her chen chen razy. Dream can pay wang po cham pao yang. Du pung ma lu jom say sang way. Gan chen ke pe sun kien song ka pao. Lo Sandra pe sha bla so wanding. Make me say wei ter chen chen razy. Dri me ken pe wang po jam pao yang. Du pun ma lu chom se sang wei dan. Gan chen ke pe su ken song ka pa. Lo san tra pe sha bla so wan ding. Now dissolving the gurus into our heart like a beautiful sun coming down. Sort of bright luminous sun ball of orange light into our heart, golden light. O glorious and precious root guru, please sit on a lotus moon seat in my heart. Please care for me with great kindness and grant me blessings of your body, speech, and mind. O glorious and precious root guru, please sit in a lotus and moon seat in my heart. Please care for me with your great kindness and bestow the calm and supreme attainments. O glorious and precious root guru, please sit in a lotus and moon seat in my heart. Care for me with great kindness and remain firm until I attain the essence of enlightenment. For being cared for throughout all of my lives by conquer Sankappa as my Mahayana Guru, may I never turn away even for an instant by this excellent path praised by the conquerors. Okay, so put my reading glasses on here for the book. So last week, like the last class we did there is we were looking, just as a short review, everyone's probably like, oh my God, here we go again, 3 principal paths. I came here to listen to Tantra, and it's once again renunciation, bodhicitta, and emptiness. My goodness, won't that guy stop talking about that? But technically, yeah, especially being a Gelugpa, where we always talk about the unity of Sutra and Tantra, that is the foundation for your house. That's the gas in the tank. That's the steering wheel that you put on the race car or whatever. You can just, all the analogies keep going here. For Buddhist Tantra to actually work as Buddhist Tantra and Tantra to get all the blessings, to get all the realizations, we need renunciation, in particular Tantric renunciation. We need bodhicitta, in particular Tantric bodhicitta. And we do need the Madhyamika Prasangika view of emptiness, wisdom realizing emptiness, for that to work. So there we go. So that was last week. I'm going to start with a short thing, just again from my teacher and dear friend David Gonzalez's book, Blissful Ascent to Swift Enlightenment, A Guide to the 4 Classes of Tantra, which was by Detcheling Press. I think you can still get it online. And again, I've talked in the other 2 courses that we did on Tantra, I've talked about the importance of a Lama or a Guru. Here we go again, where I have to read this one short little passage here, it's not very long, on the Guru's pivotal role in the practice of Tantra before we really go into today's talk, which is Tantric Empowerment. What is a Tantric Empowerment and how does it work? In particular, what's important about a Tantric Empowerment for Kriya Tantra, in particular, the lowest of the 4 classes of Buddhist Tantra in Tibetan Buddhism, right? Action Tantra. So, Losang Serang, Venerable Serang, or David says, Guru's pivotal role in the practice of Tantra. In the Hinayana, the Guru is seen as representing the Buddha. In the Mahayana, the Guru is seen as the Buddha appearing in an ordinary aspect. In the practice of Tantra, the Guru is not only imagined to be the Buddha, but should also be visualized in the aspect of one's deity. Here, deity and Buddha are synonymous. A deity is a Buddha that one identifies with through the process of self-generation. As explained earlier, we change our identity of being our mundane, limited self to being that of a fully enlightened Buddha in the aspect of a particular deity. This is not a case of delusional overestimation of ourselves, believing ourselves to be enlightened when we're not. Instead, it's done with full recognition of emptiness as dependent imputation, realizing that both deity and yourself lack inherent existence. While the thought I in the ordinary sense is done out of ignorance, the thought I in relation to the deity, with the understanding the I is merely imputed, is a case of wisdom understanding emptiness. Each moment we think I, in dependence upon contaminated aggregates due to self-grasping, is the cause of samsara and future suffering. Each time we think I am the deity with the recognition that the I is merely labeled, therefore lacks inherent existence, is a cause for enlightenment. As mentioned earlier, we need bodhicitta motivation to direct the power of this realization towards enlightenment. Genlo Senchufa, which is David's main teacher and was one of my teachers as well. He was the previous Trijang Rinpoche, the junior tutor to His Holiness 14th Dalai Lama, his secretary for a number of years. I don't know if he's still alive, actually. I haven't seen him in a long, long, long time. Wonderful, wonderful Lama. Genlo Senchufa would tell me again and again, as if repeating a mantra, the Guru, the deity, and oneself must be seen as inseparable. When you generate as the deity, you are generating as the Guru. When you see the Guru, you are seeing the deity. Once you're able to see the Guru and the deity is inseparable, you will receive quick and profound blessings. If you want a vision of the deity, then you should come to an understanding that the Guru is the deity. Then every time you see the Guru, be the same as seeing the deity. We see this in the highly advanced lamas when they speak of the Gurus as if they were the deity. We think that this is some sort of flattery or merely devotional exercise. But when we gain some experience of this, we'll come to realize that it's simply a matter of fact. If you think for a moment about bodhicitta, the thought, I will attain enlightenment for the welfare of all living beings, and extrapolate to the full extent of its implication, you will come to realize that all these Buddhas, with their limitless capacity for emanation and omniscient minds, are right before you, appearing as your Guru. How else would Buddhists choose to help you? This is an important point. How else would they get a hold of you and actually instruct you? Right? It's not that Buddhists will only emanate as non-Buddhists and leave the teaching of Buddhists and ordinary people. Therefore, we have to ask ourselves, where are all the emanations? Is it that Buddha was joking? Maybe Vajrayana didn't mean it when he said in the future, I will appear as your Guru. When you look for me, look no further than your own Guru. Clearly, enlightened beings don't lie. The only logical answer is that Buddha is appearing to us as our Guru, leading us to the state of enlightenment, just as Buddha promised. Also, we cannot make an accurate assumption about who is and who is not enlightened based on our ordinary appearances. Our mind can only see its own level of development. You will come to know that this through your own experience as you gain higher and higher realizations. As you progress through each higher level of attainment, you will come to understand that your Guru has these very qualities. With each progression you make towards the path to enlightenment, you're able to see those qualities in your Guru. Is it that they weren't there before? Of course they were. You simply were not able to perceive them. Also, because Tantra requires an empowerment, all the practices of Tantra are unavailable without a Guru. Traditionally, even to study texts on Tantra, you need an empowerment. You also need the oral transmission and the instructions on the practice. In this way, your Guru is your Vajradhara. Other than your Guru, there's no one else leading you through the path of Tantra. The Guru effectively becomes your own Vajradhara. The more you're able to see him or her as such, the greater blessings you will receive. It is often said, if you see the Guru as Buddha, you get the blessings of the Buddha. If you see your Guru as a Bodhisattva, you get the blessings of Bodhisattva. If you see your Guru as an ordinary person, you don't get any blessings at all. It's a famous thing there. Great. So, that was just one little review on the importance of the Guru. I think that that's a beautiful passage here. Really, really beautiful. So moving into if our Guru is the one giving us, and again, like I've said before, traditionally, to be able to do the practice of a deity having the empowerment, it's getting the empowerment and then the commentary afterwards and the instructions. So sometimes, like old days, you would get the empowerment, let's say on a Friday or Saturday, let's say 2 days or 1 day, whatever it is. Then it would be the Sunday or a later date where you kind of have to come back and get the commentary and instruction. So oftentimes they go through, give a commentary, and sometimes the commentary is very, very long, right? Or the teacher will tell you to read books on it and give you sort of pointing out where to go in the book. And then they'll give the instructions on the sadhana, kind of how to do it. And then later on, if you wanted to do the permission retreat, later retreat or further, you'd have to be in touch with your teacher one-on-one to get the instructions on how to do that. But that's just sort of, if you get all that, that sort of guarantees that you've got the full transmission. So like if you just sort of like nowadays where there's empowerments kind of everywhere, you just kind of roll in, don't know the teacher, get the empowerment, green Tara, then leave, don't get the instruction, don't get the commentary, don't even have a relationship with the teacher. How much of that empowerment are you really getting? I don't want to debate that, but because we don't know, right? But the point is, it's kind of, again, like I always say, finishing your degree at university or college rather than dropping out the last year, not finishing your prerequisites or finishing the final papers. I've known people that have done that, particularly in the doctorate, where they do the coursework and they do their comps and they never finish their thesis, for instance. And so can you say you have a doctorate? Well, you're at that level. You're really in a lot of postgrad. You're an amazing researcher and student and all these kinds of things. But can you put PhD after your name? In the old days, anyway, you weren't allowed to. I don't know about this anymore, especially with the way college, university is with AI now and everything. Who knows, right? But so that's the thing is you have to receive the full kind of package deal to say that you've got the full transmission, that you've got the full kind of empowerment. So back in 2007, I remember quite well, David wrote a little pamphlet that he gave us and wanted us to make available. This might still be on Detchling website if you can download it or find it. I don't know. You can sort of see. It says the need for a proper initiation in the practice of Tantra. Because, of course, nowadays with all the TikTok Dharma, people do all these practices without receiving an empowerment, or they themselves think they can give the empowerment or give the empowerment to other people and be a guru, or give themselves the empowerment or anything else. And this was starting even back then, 20 years ago, it was already starting. So David, who was very conservative, very orthodox, was like, oh my goodness, you need to do everything properly, follow the recipe. So this was his little pamphlet here, the need for a proper initiation and practice of Tantra by Detchling Press. So most of this, or pretty well all of it, is in his book in the following chapter, Empowerment in the Fourth Class of Tantra. I just wanted to read this little pamphlet because I think it's very, very good. I'll give it a little bit of commentary here. So this is the crux of the matter for this particular class here, an explanation on Tantra empowerment. The need for a proper initiation practice of Tantra. If we are to practice Tantra successfully, we need to receive the proper initiation for the deity we wish to practice. Often people are unaware of the difference between various types of initiations and therefore attend initiations and engage in practice for which they are not qualified. And I mean this, David, and of course myself, means this traditionally qualified, right? Again, sort of just, getting your certification, as a plumber, or let's say get certification, become a massage therapist, so, insurance will cover your treatments, getting your degrees, getting your diplomas, any of these things. There are many misinterpretations with regard to this subject. So first we identify two often confused terms in Tantra, very important on empowerment. One is Jenang, the other is Wang, or Wang Chen, you might hear. A Wang, or Wang Chen, literally means empowerment, and a Jenang means subsequent permission. A Wang is to be received first. However, the Jenang is a blessing subsequent to a Wang that gives you permission to practice a particular meditational deity. A Wang could accurately be described as an initiation or empowerment, whereas a Jenang is more of a blessing. These are in traditional terms here. For the sake of this article, I will continue using the terms Wang and Jenang to maintain this distinction. What is a Wang, or a Wang Chen? A Wang is initiation into a mandala of a particular deity. It always involves a mandala, whether it is a body mandala, a painted mandala, or a sand mandala, and so forth. A Wang usually lasts 2 or more days and is always preceded by certain preparations. Cleansing and purification, generating motivation, making requests and entering the mandala, receiving vows, throwing the tooth stick, receiving the water, kusha grass and protection string, generating delight, receiving advice for analyzing dreams. The second day is the day of the actual empowerment, although sometimes both the preparation and actual Wang are bestowed on the same day, which I've done it before, at least for a very long day. For instance, if you do self-initiation practice for some of the main Anuttara Yoga, Maha-Anuttara Yoga deities, like Yamantaka and Goisamaja, Kalachakra, Haruka Chakrasambhara, you do that all in one go, and it's very long because you give all these sort of series of steps for the initiation, so it makes for a very, very long day. Whereas, for instance, technically deities like Chidamani Tara, Mind Jewel Green Tara, in the Gelugpa tradition, let's say Sigamuka, Lion Face Dakini, and most of all Vajrayana, right? Those are seen as Jenang. So this is why they always say you need the Wang of a particular. This is for highest yoga tantra, mind you, right? For a Maha-Anuttara yoga deity, the big empowerment initiation for, let's say, Haruka or Yamantaka, and then subsequent to that, you could get Jenangs the days after of, let's say, again, you could just go in a row if you want to do Vajrayana, Chidamaitara, Singamuka, or other deities one after the other as Jenang, or sort of a blessing empowerment or permission empowerment. A Wang in action or Kriya Tantra has the vase in crown empowerment. So we'll talk about that a little bit later and get a little bit more detail. So again, just make note of that. A Wang in action or Kriya Tantra has the vase and the crown empowerments. Second level of Tantra, performance or Charya Tantra, has in addition the empowerment of the 5 Buddha families or 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Third class of Tantra, Yoga Tantra, has all the preceding empowerments plus the Vajra Master initiation. In the fourth or highest level, the Anuttara Yoga or highest Yoga Tantra, Wang has all the preceding empowerments, including the Vajra Master empowerment, plus uniquely the 3 higher empowerments of secret, wisdom, and the word empowerment. What is a Jenang? A Jenang is a simple blessing of body, speech, and mind of a particular deity, with slight variations depending on the specifics of that deity, and sometimes includes the blessing of the enlightened actions of that deity. Usually the oral transmission of a mantra is bestowed during the speech empowerment, although sometimes it occurs at the conclusion of the Jenang. There are numerous variations. There are several distinctions between a Wang and a Jenang with regard to the preparations performed by the initiating lamas, but here we're not discussing that particular aspect of the Wang. Instead, we're discussing this matter in the aspect of the student or disciple receiving the Wang. And I will just sort of say that these ceremonies differ, of course, depending probably on the Lama, who might make adjustments based on the audience or teacher, and then, of course, with the lineage. So I don't want people to sit in there like an idiot, like I used to do years ago, where I'd be like, oh my goodness, this ritual Lama's doing it, they forgot this part. You know, I was such a narrow-minded idiot. Don't be like that. Or again, just because you're a Gelugpa and you go to Enigma empowerment, and you're like, wait a minute, it's not supposed to be this way, because they'll do things a little bit differently. And of course, it might be different. My guru, as Rinpoche always says, there's an old expression in Eastern Tibet, they say, every Lama has their own tradition, every local chief has their own rules, because all these different valleys and areas are all sort of isolated. So a lot of times these rituals differ. So you have to sort of keep that in mind too. However, we have to talk about something, and there's got to be some kind of a tradition or a recipe, so to speak, and this is sort of the general one that I'm giving out here for everybody. So the need for a Wang to practice any of the 4 types of Tantra. Whether we're practicing action, performance, yoga, or highest yoga Tantra, we need to receive a Wang from the appropriate class of Tantra. Each class of Tantra has its own Wangs, vows received, and commitments to be maintained. Merely receiving a Jenang does not qualify one to practice Tantra. In fact, as we will see later in this article, Lama Tsongkhapa explains that to practice any of the 4 classes of Tantra merely on the basis of a Jenang is a great misdeed. This, of course, traditionally speaking. Right? 3 lineages of action Tantra. In the practice of action Tantra, there are 3 supramundane lineages, the Tathagata, the Lotus, and the Vajra, in descending order of superiority. In general, if we receive any Wang in the lineage of the Tathagata family, we are permitted to practice the lineage of action Tantra, as well as the 2 lower lineages, again, of Lotus and Vajra. If we then receive a mere Jenang for the deity in these 3 classes of action Tantra, we can then perform the practice, self-generate as deity, and engage in retreat without having to receive another Wang for that specific deity. If we receive any Wang in the Lotus lineage, we are permitted to practice the deities belonging to the Lotus and Vajra lineages. If we receive a Wang in the Vajra lineage, we are only permitted to practice the deities in the Vajra lineage. In other words, a Wang for a particular deity empowers the individual to engage in all the practices of that deity. A Jenang for a particular deity empowers the individual to engage in all the practices of that deity only when the individual has first received a Wang of any deity in that particular action Tantra deity's lineage, or a Wang of any deity from a higher lineage. In each case, we still need to receive the Jenang or subsequent permission to practice the deities in the same lineage or lower, but we do not need to receive a Wang for each of these deities. If we receive a Wang into the Lotus lineage, we are not permitted to practice the deities of the higher Tathagata lineage. If we receive a Wang into the Vajra lineage, we are not permitted to practice the deities in either the Lotus or Tathagata lineages without receiving a Wang from whichever of the higher lineages we wish to practice. Basically, you can only practice the deities belonging to the same lineage or lower from which you've received a Wang. Okay? This is the traditional rules of Kriya Tantra here. So diagram of the three lineages right here, which is really, really good. Following diagram is based on Panchen Losang Drakpa's, who's a very famous Gelugpa Lama and expert. They use his textbooks in all monasteries, an expert on Tantra. So it's his description of deities associated with each of the three supramental lineages of action Tantra. So the Tathagata lineage, the highest lineage of action Tantra, the principal, they call the principal lineage, is Shakyamuni Buddha. The lord of the lineage is Buddha of Wisdom Manjushri. The mother lineage is Marichi, and what they call the five guards, which are these Buddhas most of us have never heard of, Pratisara, Mahamayuri, which is Mahamayuri is a beautiful Buddha who rides the peacock, very big in Chinese Mahayana Buddhism. Sitavati, Mantra Nararini, and Sahasra Pranardani. Never heard of them. Anyway, and deities of the other lineage are other deities associated in the Tathagata lineage of Action Tantra would be Ushisha Vijaya, Sitapat, so that's the longevity deity, Nagyama, Sitapatra, which Ushisha, which is the white parasol, Vimala Ushnisha, Jala Ushnisha, Kundi, which is really big in sort of like almost like a form of Avalokiteshvara, and she's very, very big, almost like Tara, a little bit of Kuan Yin. She's very big in Chinese Buddhism as well. And Parna Svari. Now the lotus lineage, the principal is Amitayas, long life deity. Lord of the lineage is Buddha of Compassion, Avalokiteshvara. Mother of the lineage is Aryatara. And other deities of the lineage would be, for instance, Wrathful Amitabha, and Wrathful Chenrezig, which is Hayagriva. And finally, the Vajra lineage, which is the lowest one, the principal is Akshobhya, or Mikdrupa, which is kind of like one of the five Yeni Buddhas, which is sort of the immovable blue Buddha. Vajrapani, Buddha of Power. Anala Pramohani, which is the mother lineage. And other deities would be Amrita Kundali, who's one of the main purification deities, who's green, holding a Dorjing bell. And Vajra Garuda, a great sort of Garuda, or sort of like in Japan they call them Tengus, right? So just like David said, if you get the Wang or full initiation in the Tathagata class, sort of like Manjushri Buddha of Wisdom, you can practice the ones lower to that, which would be the Lotus class of the Avalokiteshvara Buddha of Compassion, and the Vajra class with Vajrapani. If you just only get the Lotus lineage, you can just do the Lotus and the Vajra. And if you just get the Wang and the Vajra, you can only do that practice from that class, so to speak. Okay. The text Jada Yoga contains sections 2 and 3 of Lama Tsongkhapa's great exposition stages of the path of Tantra, or Mantra, the Naram Chenmo. On page 74 of Jada Yoga, Lama Tsongkhapa says, it's unsuitable to bestow mantra one has who has not entered the mandala. And the General Tantra says, if one not having seen well mandala repeats a mantra, he will not obtain feats and after death will fall into a bad state. Whoever shows to him rites of mantras and seals falls from his pledges and goes to a hell of grieving beings. Therefore, it's always unsuitable for one who has not entered a mandala of any of the four tantras and received initiation to achieve a deity and so forth, based only on a right of permission. It's also unsuitable for a mantra to be granted to such a person. The above passage clearly establishes the need for a proper Wang. When Lama Tsongkhapa says, having seen well mandala, he's referring to the prerequisite of entering the mandala, a process that only takes place in the beginning of the Wang. When he says repeats the mantra, he's referring to the practitioner engaging in the practice of mantra recitation. The stanza as a whole refers to inappropriate activity engaging in actions such as undertaking a retreat of the deity on insufficient basis of having received just a Jenang, in other words, without receiving proper Wang. In verse 2, Lama Tsongkhapa says, whoever shows to him the rites of mantras and seals. Here refers to a situation in which a student learned the rites of Tantra, such as how to perform hand mudras and so forth, despite the fact that the student has not yet received a prerequisite Wang. Finally, he says, in all ways, it is unsuitable for one who has not entered a mandala of any of the four tantras and received initiation to achieve. Lama Tsongkhapa is here saying that there are no exceptions. It is in all ways improper and a great misdeed for both those who teach and those who listen. Finally, he asserts that this error is based on a right of permission. Here, the translator, Jeffrey Oppus, has translated Wang as initiation, Jenang as right of permission. In conclusion, Jason Kappa is clearly saying that based on a Jenang, it's completely improper to practice in the 4th class of Tantra without having previously received a Wang. Or it's a Wang, the 3 higher class of Tantra. Which I'm going to leave because we're not talking about that. So summary, we're just talking about Kriya Tantra. To qualify a practice in the 4th class of Tantra, it's necessary to receive an appropriate Wang. These days, most of the confusion revolves around action Tantra practice, which many people mistakenly believe that by merely receiving a Jenang, they engage in the practice of that deity, or even without any Jenang. But as we can see Lama Tsongkhapa's text, even to recite a mantra perform hand moved without a Wang is incorrect. If we wish to practice action Tantra, we need a Wang appropriately linked to the deity we wish to practice. If we are practicing performance yoga, high yoga Tantra, we also need a Wang from that class of Tantra to undertake these practices. So, of course, this is the traditional thing. Now, if your teacher says it's okay just to get a short permission initiation of a Jenang, that's what your teacher tells you. You're not going to doubt them or criticize it. But in terms of the tradition, YJ Tsongkhapa and sort of the old sort of Nalanda Indian Buddhist way of doing this is it's always the top highest standard that they're shooting for, of course. If you have the full Wanchen, enter the mandala, do all the rituals, you know for a fact you're going to get the whole mandala, that you then, once you have the initiation, you have the permission to enter the mandala by doing the permission Leirung retreat, which is the counting retreat where you're asking permission to enter the mandala again, having entered it once through the initiation. Once you've done that, with the fire puja, you can enter the mandala on your own, which is self-entry or self-initiation, which allows you to restore all your, in this case with action tantra, your bodhisattva vows to purify and really allow you to progress energetically through the blessings of the deity by always being in the mandala of the deity, sort of bringing that pure land right here to where you are right now and sort of collapsing the dualistic distinction between you and the deity where you're in the mandala all the time. So if you're just receiving, let's say, lung transmission where someone gives you just a mantra to recite, you don't, and then you're trying to do all these higher practices, it probably won't work very well. If you just get Jenangs of everything but the full initiation, depending on the Lama and what you're doing, but let's say an old school way, it'd be the same thing. If it's just the blessings of body, speech, and mind where you're introduced to the deity, told you can do a sadhana, maybe to say the mantra a little bit, are you able to sort of enter the mandala with the permission to treat and do all what they call the subsequent mandala actions like self-initiation, healing techniques, advanced higher practices? Well, then it's a little bit nebulous, like Jason Kappa would say. So again, setting the gold standard here, if you can do it and ask for all these sort of original Wangs, which very few people give nowadays. I may say it's very rare for lamas to give because our merit and the conditions of Kali Yuga have changed. But so to get the full Wangchen empowerment, 2-day empowerment for action tantra is very, very rare indeed. But if you are a keener and, like they say, a geek geeking out on action tantra and you do things old school way like they did in India and Tibet 1,000 years ago, and that's the way you want to do it, you ask your teacher, please, I would like the full Wangchen initiation for, let's say, the Tathagata class Manjushri, so I can practice the 2 lower classes of action tantra, Kriya Tantra, Lotus, and Vajra, or let's just say a Lotus deity like Avalokiteshvara Green Tara, or a Vajra class deity, Vajrapani, for instance, right? So isn't that wonderful? These 3 classes, you can receive this. But again, if you're just receiving the Jenang, and that's wonderful too. That's sort of like being introduced to someone at a party, to like the deity, sort of a little chance to visit. It's kind of like going on a first date with somebody and to do the mantra, get sort of comfortable with this deity, know who they are, and study a little bit so then you can ask for later permission to have a Wangchen, action tantra Wangchen. This is sort of the traditional way of doing it. So I wanted to part you guys with the old school understanding of this thing so everybody knows. Okay, so that's great. Just a little bit of a discussion here on initiations. And we will move into action tantra, the structure of action tantra, Kriya Tantra, on our next class. I think we're going to just talk about the philosophy of it, the different sort of commitments that you have to keep as a Kriya Tantra practitioner. So we will see you then. So let's take a moment to dedicate this. Blessings of all of our gurus, the truth of karma, power of pure intention, all of our dharma wishes be fulfilled. Thank you, and see you next time.